Jungle.
Today I'm helping a buddy of mine replace the front struts on his 2006 Ford 500. We're not going to politic on whether or not you should go with a quick strut or what brand to use. I'm making this video as a reference so you can get the job done as quick as possible. You want to begin by jacking up the front end and supporting it with jack stands. Then remove the wheels with a 19mm socket. The next step is removing the caliper. I have the key in the accessory position so I can turn the steering wheel and gain better access to the fasteners. You'll need a 13mm socket to remove the two caliper bolts. Remove the caliper, and I'm using a short bungee cord to hang it so it's out of the way. Then remove the two caliper bracket bolts with a 15mm socket. The rotor just slides off because the rotor retaining screws for this vehicle are missing. The next step is removing the axle nut. You'll need a 32mm deep socket. Now you'll need to remove the ball joint from the steering knuckle with a 21mm wrench. If the ball stud starts to spin, you'll need to jack up the vehicle by the control arm to put pressure on the ball joint so the stud won't spin. You're not going to have enough clearance to remove this nut just yet, and that's okay. Come up here and remove the nut from this flag bolt using a 21mm socket. We're going to pop the ABS line out of its brackets so we have slack once the steering knuckle is removed. Then remove the tie rod in with the 21mm deep socket. Next up is the sway bar links. Since these are being replaced, I'm only going to disconnect it at the sway bar and pull it out with the old strut. I'm using a 14mm swivel socket for removal, but a 14mm wrench works just fine. You'll also need to use an 18mm wrench to keep the ball stud from spinning. Then look under the hood and remove the 4 nuts on the upper strut mount using a 13mm socket. The strut should slide out of the knuckle at this point, but if it's giving you a hard time like this one is, you can wedge a pry bar in this slot to open it up a little bit. As with anything, you want to check your parts to make sure they are correct before installation. Some symptoms associated with worn out struts include excessive tire wear, vibration after hitting bumps, and nose diving when braking. The steering knuckle is slotted, so the strut can only be installed one way. Then set the steering knuckle on top of the floor jack and lift the strut assembly into position. Once you have everything loosely installed, you want to lift the vehicle using the lower control arm as a jacking point until the body no longer rests on the jack stand. This simulates ride height, and now you can torque all your fasteners down to spec.